It's funny because I was about to talk to you about the world inside out, the power of how we can, influence our small world, which will repercute, ripple through our outer world. But then as I came into my shower, I thought, geez, how many times in a lifetime we will be showering ourselves? How many times we will be brushing our teeth? How many times we will be waking up from this bed that we have and go do what we do first thing in the morning? And it made me think, are humans really creatures of habit or not? Because I remember reading this book where they were, the power of the habit, explaining how success is boring, showing you that actually the way through success, the way through make things happen is through repetition and through small tasks and small fits. And I still do agree with it, but I'm here to really challenge your paradigm here and your point of views and your perspective on life, right? Because this is what it is. We're exploring, we're talking, we're exchanging. Well, not really exchanging right now, I'm the only one talking, but I am sharing what I'm thinking. As I talk with you, I get to explore. And sometimes the movie or the story about the groundhog dog groundhog day, where the person just keeps like waking up to the same day over and over and over and over again, to the point that when you feel like it's repetitive. Like I feel sometimes that my routine, not the life per se, but the routine is kind of dull. And I don't even have kids, so I cannot even imagine people who have a 9 to 5 job, kids, responsibilities. They have to make food, they have to have a certain itinerary and schedule on the day because some people expect them to do so and count on them. But I must not be the only one to feel like it's like a groundhog day, and it's kind of like repetitive to a certain point that you're like, shit, am I living the same day over and over again? Am I going crazy? Isn't it like a bit boring at some point? And I started thinking, we don't even re-question the necessity of doing things that we do on a daily basis. And I cannot stress enough the importance of working on ourselves on a daily basis, self-awareness, growth, your spirituality, taking your time alone with God. It's so important, guys. It's a constant battle, and this is for another subject. But yet, we don't question what we do on a repetition daily, how we have built those habits. And I know like ancient civilization as well, when they would come home, or a sort of a home for them, and they would build something. Like, I'm not talking modern society, I'm talking for all societies through the time, how we've been building those habits without even thinking about it. Like it's just normal. It's not something we would question. We must brush our teeth every day. We must eat every day. We must take a shower every day. We must, I don't know, go to the bathroom every day. We must have this self-care, this morning routine or the night routine to prepare ourselves to go to sleep. We must put the clothes on. Those are like very deeply rooted habits that are not questioned and that are part of our society, especially our modern society today. And then it made me question, what if we were not creatures of habit? Because when you think about it, you look at nature, you look at everything that is natural, because we're living in a habitual world and a standardized world. Perhaps we're perceiving nature and everything that grows as habit. The way that there's a cycle of life, the way that the little not worm, but the little I keep forgetting the thing, the larva before the butterfly becomes a butterfly, they crystallize, the way how they give birth. Like there's this, we have created systems to understand nature and we have created as well systems and laws and regulations to understand our own body. We are people, because of our ego, who loves to understand, who wants to understand. And in order to understand, we have to create systems, right? Predictability, predictable systems, so we can understand the patterns, right? So as much as there's a lot of patterns, I do not argue on that, or maybe one day I will. If we look at the world, we think it's all patterns and system, and it's all repetitive. Like, the baby is born, the mammals or the insects, they live that amount of time, then they die. Then the cycle of life repeats, and it repeats itself, and it repeats itself. But what if it's not a repetition? What if every time it's a new thing? The flower that grows from the same, not the same, but from each seed is unique. As much as we're saying each individual is unique, same goes for everything inside of you, working in your body. Same goes for every seed of every plant. Same goes to every leaf of every tree. Perhaps our eyes is perceiving common elements and things that we comprehend, because this is where we're at in our level of awareness and in our dimension. But what if, even if it looks from us afar, that it looks the same? What if it's quite unique? And what if every time, you know, an animal's giving birth, or something is growing, or a plant or a seed is growing into a flower or plant, it actually, if you look at it in a more close-up view, it actually is quite different. There's nothing habitual. This little stem is growing and discovering as they grow, and they're gonna be quite different than the one that was next to them, or the same species than them. Every little grain, every little seed is growing unique and different. There is nothing systemic about it. There is nothing predictable about it. There is nothing, like, we view it as predictable, but what if they were not? What if every one of them had their own unique abilities and unique features? Because when you see at your body, according to what we are learning and what we have learned so far, then again, if I start questioning everything we know, we're never going to end this video. But from what we've learned is that the body holds billions, even trillions, I believe, of different bacterias, and different cells, and different type of proteins and adhesions and all this type of thing. It's just, there's a huge variety. And because there's a huge variety, I'm coming to my point, guys. Because there's such a huge variety in our own body, that's what makes us so strong. That's what makes us live. That's what makes us breathe. And the gut health, the more you are feeding the gut with different type of food, including fermented food, but different types of food, it has been proven that the more you eat varying stuff and food, varying foods, the more it reinforce your system, your defense mechanisms, defense system, your white cells, red cells, blood cells, and your gut health, because it is producing more variety of bacteria and more strong cells. I'm like very tired, guys, so my vocabulary here is quite limited. The more you're stronger. What do you think people say when there's a mix of cultures having babies? Has been proven that they are actually the babies that comes from this union, this intercultural union, has been proven to be stronger in their ADN and stronger to be in their body when it comes to disease, or growing stronger, faster, or having the abilities, because they're mixing, because there's variety. You know what I mean? And when you think about, let's go a little bit about the Bible here, the scriptures, where they mention that God has created the world in 7 days. Let's say we don't even know if it's really the seven same days that us our days, right? But each day was different. Each day he kind of claimed that there's something different. He didn't create the world doing the same thing over and over again and being in habits in order to create. He created a variety of plants, a variety of planes, a variety of insects, and variety of animals, and we believe there's two humans, but maybe he knew that those two humans would become a variety of humans. I don't know, like I'm extrapolating here. When you think about Jesus, he did not live on a habit world. Like, I don't think he knew, well, he knew what was going to happen to him, or whatever the world was going to, but I don't think as a human, let's say, he knew what was the next day reserving for him. You know what I mean? He was living with the flow. And I'm not coming here and starting to say that everybody should live on the flow. I'm just challenging our mindset and our point of view of perhaps everything we don't question that we're doing is actually not serving our highest self or helping us to a certain to a certain point. But every day, yes, he did eat. Every day probably did his toiletry. Every day he probably, catered to go to sleep somewhere and tarried somewhere. But he was sometimes at the same place for a certain period of time for a season, but it was never the same place for the whole time. He traveled a lot. He spoke in different ways to a lot of people. Yes, he went to pray quite often on the top of the mountains or very alone so he could resource himself. But each prayer was different. Each time alone is different. Every day of our life, every second is different. And perhaps there's cycles and there's patterns. But each of them is tweakily different and unique, and perhaps we're pushing, and perhaps the society of today more than ever is encouraging habits and encouraging us to believe that habits is good, and then predictability is good, and systems are good, and patterns and understanding our world in the cyclical matter and everything that is predictable is good, simply because it's so much easier to predict and thus control, right? I'm obviously, if each of us would be unpredictable and following our own path and be very quite different and embracing our unicity, it can be kind of destabilizing. I'm not saying here in my what works as a commune society that could be perfect and all in unison. Here I'm just challenging our individuality and who we are truly, what's our nature here. But so what if we were all, all the society of today is pushing us to understand, hey, habits are okay, they're great, they're good. Variety is good, but in food, but not in your habits, not in your way you carry your life, not in your way you think about things. You keep thinking the same way, and we've been grown and programmed to think the same way, to be around the same people, to be, acting the same way, to, the ego wants to have a certain identification. So he wants to have to hold a constance, and consistency over time in our identity, right? But the truth is we have the freedom of will, so we could wake up tomorrow and believe that I am a killer, a murderess, I could wake up the next day and think that I'm an animal. I am identified as an animal. I could wake up the next day and do something else, but the ego doesn't do that, right? Because the ego needs their repère, the checkpoints to know where they're going. Because they must have control. They must understand their environment, ourselves, and what's happening, right? So in a world where ego strives, of course they're gonna encourage us and want us to have this tendency towards habits and embrace it and give virtue to it. And I'm here to challenge you, because what if, because, and I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say, Macy, of course we need to have some habits, because that's what's been proven, is that the human brain naturally goes towards the fastest route, and then the more you repeat something, the more it necessitates less energy for your brain cells, or to have this pattern and to do what you do. And this is why we do so many things unconsciously throughout the day, 95% of our actions, because we are made, because we have been doing so many habits in our life, and being so many things of repetition, because we have to go to work, we have to go train at them, we have to pay every month our bills, we have to do that. Everything is made that we have to do. It kind of unconscious to become a creature of habit. We don't think about it, but we're kind of being squeezed into this world of habits, because this is what every environmental factors is making you want. So what if, because we have been doing all those things, and the brain, like you say, is making you do things faster, because it's becoming habit, is a way to protect yourself, because otherwise you would be overflowed with so many stimulus. I believed all of that for so long in my life, and you couldn't handle it because it would be too many stimulus in life. But the truth is, in another side, there's about over hundreds and hundreds of stimulus in our brain, and we're still able to be functioning and working, and we still choose to use the same patterns, because we choose, by our programming, to do the same things over and over and over again, expecting different results. What if, because we're so into our habits in everything, perceiving the world, into patterns, into our habits of actions, that it stops us from actually embracing the variety and the beauty of the unicity of our present moment? What if we stop being creatures of habit, but instead creatures of unicity, of experience, of novelty? It pushed our limits of the mind, and it allows us to actually see things in different angles and be more creative. I do believe everybody has a creativity inside of them. If you want to talk about left brain and right brain, I don't mind, but I do believe that we are all one, and I do believe that each of us have different talents, different gifts, obviously, because we're completing to one. But I do believe each one of us has intuition and creativity, and it's through creativity that we have created the greatest creation of humanity, right? Light, the gravity, laws, all the concept we live on today, electricity, whatever, is because we thought differently. It's because we challenged our mind, because we challenged our way of seeing things. And I'm not asking you to become this next Newton or the next discovery guy here. I'm asking you to perhaps not being in a habit, or discovering new things, or challenging, or experiencing new stuff, can actually be very beneficial for yourself, for your higher self, to allow you to be at ease with uncertainty and novelty. Because when you look at the world and how it's been created, and nature per se, there's nothing that is the same. I keep saying it, I know it's redundant, but the only constant is change. The world is evolving and changing at every microsecond. As I speak to you, my body is creating thousands of change in chemical reactions, or whatever you want to call it, inside of my body to make it work. All the cells are all different and unique, so they can work together and actually be a powerful source of energy. Nothing in the world is a habit, in the sense that there is patterns, but each of them is unique. And perhaps there is beauty into novelty and experience. I understand it's easier for me to be at more at ease with novelty and experience, because I am a person, well, I identify my ego, but I tend to be a person who is more, I'm a less routine type of person, and I'm very adventurous, and I love experiencing, exploring. I'm an explorer. And I know that perhaps on my side, the reason why we do not like this type of habit through life is because there's a fear, right? There's a fear of what if, a fear of boredom, a fear of not doing enough, a fear of not doing enough through stillness, right? We don't maybe attach a lot of value to stillness, to doing nothing. to doing the same things, you know? And on the other side, if let's say we talk about polarity here in extremes, we have people like my partner who do enjoy a lot consistency, habits, predictability, controlled pattern, understanding their environment because it brings them comfort, right? It brings them a sense of safety. It brings them a sense of understanding, right? Our ego feels more at ease. We are understanding our environment, right? It's quite difficult for many people, including myself, to embrace uncertainty, unknown, change, right? So I'm here to tell you that let's challenge yourself. Every day, let's try something new, not something completely extreme new that you've never done in your whole life and you don't have to do that. But let's say you brush your teeth every night and you do it in front of your mirror. But let's say you challenge yourself and you do it in front of your window. Let's say this time you brush your teeth with your left hand. Let's say you just tweak some habits you've been doing in your life. Just try it for 7 days. One simple habit, challenge it to do something that's quite different. Your brain's gonna awaken and it's gonna say, whoa, something's wrong. You're not doing it the same way. And what if just that allows you to not only elevate your mind, but just allows you to be aware of the present moment and be actually more appreciative of the present moment and aware of that the only thing that matters is the present moment, because we've been doing so long those habits, those actions out of habit, and believing that us humans are creatures of habit. We've been letting our brain go and our mind go wander in the past or in the future and started creating bad scenarios and stressing over and anxiety. We do not. How many people don't live anymore in the present? What if we're we were meant to not be in habits? What if by doing things differently every day, every second is challenging not only our limits in terms of mindsets and in terms of perspective, but allowing us to be in the moment and thus embrace it and thus attract what is at this moment and also accept and let go of what is at that moment. So see, all of this development started from the point that I stepped into my shower and was like, how many times I've done that, you know? So I would love to try that out this week. Try to tweak things. Well, on my side, I just love to experience and explore what it would be. But I'm a already very present person type of thing. But I do tend to I do go fly around and start, dreaming and going into these deep thoughts, obviously, here. Yeah, I think that's it. Maybe we're creatures of verity. So to the next time, guys.